Doesn't stop there. Every major Somali fraud ring is targeting Minnesota and, by extension, every single taxpayer in this country. This is the consequence of letting a culture that is built on corruption, violence, and piracy take root on American soil. And now, tragically, the next generation of Somali-Americans is picking up the same destructive habits right here at home. They're already the most welfare-dependent immigrant group in the U.S., and they've been caught stealing $300 million in COVID relief funding that was meant for hungry children. Now, their latest scheme targets Minnesota's Medicaid Housing Stabilization Services program, which is supposed to help seniors and addicts find housing. But the program's rules were so loose that fraud exploded. Take a look at this. Costs went from $2.6 million in 2020 to $104 million in 2024. Already this year, they're at $61 million in just 6 months, meaning they're on track to hit $122 million if that trend continues. And why? Because 6 people are accused of defrauding HSS, and they're all members of the Somali community. But this just gets worse. Watch this.
If we take a look at Minnesota's federally funded autism program. Now, several people, and this is an example, a woman in the Somali community, are co-conspirators, and they're accused of recruiting kids for autism therapy. They brought in families, had them convinced to get their kids diagnosed as autistic. In fact, these families ultimately ended up having various social services bid for their children, competing with the number size of check that they would get. It didn't matter if the kids had autism. And what happened? Autism claims to Medicaid surged. In 2018, $3 million. By 2023, listen here, from $3 million to $400 million. Autism providers jumped from 41 to 328 in 5 years. Now, City Journal reports that the Somali fraud rings send a lot of money back to Somalia. 40% of households in Somalia get remittances from abroad. That totals $1.7 billion. That is more than the entire budget of the Somali government. Money being sent abroad, from abroad, back to Somalia. Where is that money going? Take a look at this. Most alarmingly, a lot of that money is funneled through money traders, and in the end, ends up in the hands of al-Qaeda-linked Islamic terror group Al-Shabaab. So to bring this full circle, the Minnesota taxpayers are funneling money through fraudulent autism claims back to Somalia, where that money lands in the accounts of Al-Shabaab.
We are importing people from other countries who openly despise us, and they're shamelessly exploiting our generosity, our kindness, our willingness even.
Somalians in Minnesota are pretending to have autism to steal your taxpayer dollars. In 2023, displaced Somalians sent back $1.7 billion to their Somali government. 40% of households in Somalia get paychecks from Somalis in America. They're getting this cash from scamming COVID programs, SNAP, Medicaid. So for example, autism claims to Medicaid in Minnesota went from $3 million in 2018 to $399 million in 2023. So 1 in 16 Somali 4-year-olds have autism. That autism treatment is then administered by Somalis, reimbursed by federal taxpayer dollars, and then that stolen money is sent back home in the form of remittances, which is just cash as a gift. So essentially, Somali populations in Michigan and Minnesota are running these fraudulent crime rings that no one's talking about. So how did this happen? Well, for the past 30 years, Somalis have been under TPS, temporary protected status in America. Now, usually you only give TPS to some after an earthquake or a tsunami because you can't immediately send them back home to their country. In this case, Somalis just don't want to be sent back home. Somalia is obviously in Africa. It's a third world country. It's a mess because they can't figure out how to govern themselves. But it's not undergoing a natural disaster, so why are they not being sent home? Lord only knows, but after 30 years, President Trump is finally doing away with that policy. He's ended TPS for Somalis. And I would just love for them to stay forever, except the problem is that this group is not assimilated. They view themselves as separate people. They're police officers, they're local leaders, they're news people. They all speak Somali. They do not respect native-born Americans, and in fact, they refer to their white police officers as foreigners. They have ubiquitous control over law enforcement, enforcement in Dearborn and Minneapolis especially. Here's a video of a police officer apologizing because he exposed Somali criminal activity in Minneapolis.
Out of context in a way that's caused harm, I apologize and I'm sorry for that because that's not my intention.
I mean, there's nothing normal about this. It's been completely and utterly ignored by the media, and it's fraudulent criminal activity that we're just whatever. But get ready to hear a lot more about it very soon, because I have a feeling the Trump administration is going in, deporting, and cracking down on the fraud that's grown rampant in these northern cities. I don't need my taxpayer dollars being sent to Somalia, thanks.
A $250 million fraud scheme. Already 77 people, many of them Somali immigrants, have been charged in one of the largest taxpayer-funded scams in U.S. history. Minnesota, home to the largest Somali community in America, has become the center of this massive investigation. This is the Feeding Our Future scandal, a pandemic-era scheme in which defendants allegedly stole over $250 million meant to provide meals for low-income children. Instead of feeding kids, prosecutors say the money went toward luxury homes, high-end cars, jewelry, overseas transfers, and an entire network of shell companies. According to the DOJ, the conspirators submitted fake invoices, fabricated meal counts, and even staged photos to make it look like they were serving millions of meals that never existed. In some cases, they claimed to feed more children than lived in entire neighborhoods. A federal jury found Amy Bach, the founder of Feeding Our Future, and Salim Ahmed Saeed guilty of conspiracy, bribery, wire fraud, money laundering. Federal officials say more arrests may still be coming.
Hi everyone, yes, it's your girl Teresa. Welcome back to my YouTube channel. And guys, we need to talk about what's been trending lately. These fraud cases leaked to a few Somali individuals here in US. It's everywhere on social media and people are reacting like crazy. You know, here's what's actually happening. Investigators in a few states have uncovered situations where some people allegedly filed fake claims, misused benefits, or ran small scams through children's programs and government aids. Before we go deeper on this topic, let's first of all see how people are reacting about this story. Then we'll come back with the full commentary at the end of the video. So stay tuned and let's watch together.
A $250 million fraud scheme. Already 77 people, many of them Somali immigrants, have been charged in one of the largest taxpayer-funded scams in U.S. history. Minnesota, home to the largest Somali community in America, has become the center of this massive investigation. This is the Feeding Our Future scandal, a pandemic-era scheme in which defendants allegedly stole over $250 million meant to provide meals for low-income children. Instead of feeding kids, prosecutors say the money went toward luxury homes, high-end cars, jewelry, overseas transfers, and an entire network of shell companies. According to the DOJ, the conspirators submitted fake invoices, fabricated meal counts, and even staged photos to make it look like they were serving millions of meals that never existed. In some cases, they claimed to feed more children than lived in entire neighborhoods. A federal jury found Amy Bach, the founder of Feeding Our Future, and Salim Ahmed Saeed guilty of conspiracy, bribery, wire fraud, money laundering. Federal officials say more arrests may still be coming.
So there's a huge scandal right now in Minnesota with the Feeding Our Future. This is where the Somalis committed large-scale fraud using a COVID-era program that was supposed to get free meals to kids. Yeah, it's all part of the Somali Wheels on Meals program, where Somali immigrants use meals to get delivered a free car. So there's this guy Abdimajid Mohammed Nur, who was one of the main ringleaders for the program. So he and his co-defendants stole more than $47 million worth of these funds, okay? And how they did it is they basically claimed that they were distributing all this food to hundreds and hundreds of kids each day. But really the addresses they listed for the food distribution sites were just abandoned warehouses or parking lots or places where schools were already delivering free meals. So he set up this shell company, Nur Consulting LLC, which took the funds and then redistributed them to himself and other co-defendants. And this guy is a professional scammer. This guy bought a $64,000 truck, another $35,000 car. He took a honeymoon to the Maldives, stayed in a private villa, and spent over $30,000 to purchase jewelry in Dubai. And this is the best part. He used $12,000 worth of the fraud money to obtain a fake college degree. He basically paid this company called Pay Me to Do Your Homework to take all of his classes for him. This guy really just reinvested into himself. He was feeding his future, to be fair. Then when he went to trial, he tried to bribe one of the jurors. So I guess he dropped off a package with $120,000 to the only juror of color, which turned out to be an Asian woman. See, that's where he fucked up. He mistook an Asian woman for a person of color. Close. If that were a black chick, he would be free right now. Instead, he's convicted. And now he's facing trial for bribing a juror. Now, Ilhan Omar was recently asked about this, and she was saying she thought that, the problem was that it was a COVID-era program and there weren't proper guardrails installed. Turns out it was her own bill. This all stems from a bill that she passed called the Meals Act. So she fails to mention this during her interview. She was looking super shifty when asked about it. I don't know if she's actually involved in the fraud scandal, but some of these people made contributions to her campaign and even hosted events. So we'll see how this all shakes out. So this is just one story. This is just one Somali immigrant. There's actually 75 plus co-defendants just for this one scandal. And then there's multiple scandals totaling somewhere in the neighborhood of $8 billion worth of fraud. Those Somalis really brought their phone scamming skills to the US.
You want to know how money leaves Minnesota and ends up overseas? Here's the breakdown. No sugarcoating. Part 5 of our series. When money hits a bank account, it is withdrawn in cash. Not traceable like wires, not flagged like digital transfers, just cash. And this is where the Hawala method kicks in. It's an underground money transfer network used worldwide. It's not illegal by itself, but it's perfect if you want to make money disappear. So how does Hawala work? Well, it's like this. You hand cash to a U.S. broker. They call a broker in Somalia. Someone overseas gives the recipient the money. No banks, no wires, no paper trail. Investigators say some cash was literally flown overseas in suitcases. Sometimes $500,000 to $1 million at a time. Yes, really. So why does this matter? Because once money enters Hawala, or like a physical transport, you cannot track whose hands it ends up in. Some goes to families, some goes to villages, some goes to regions controlled by Al-Shabaab. And that's exactly what investigative reports have warned about. You wanted the money trail? That's the trail. Stick with me. Part 6 is coming.
Ilhan Omar is big mad. She's not talking with all that arrogance today. The largest welfare fraud scandal in all of America's history has happened in her district, Minnesota. So during that Democratic shutdown, the Republicans were working. Allegedly, the Somali community funneled fraudulent autism claims back to Somalia that goes into the accounts of Al-Shabaab, an Al-Qaeda terrorist group. So President Trump terminates the temporary migrant status for all Somalians. So let's talk about it. Allegedly, the Somalians found a way to exploit the HSS program of Minnesota. These funds were designated to autism, addicts, seniors, and those that needed help with housing. Word on the street, this program was ran loosely. Somali children are overly diagnosed with autism. They are enrolled in expensive social services programs. And then these inflated autism claims are submitted to Medicaid. I would say this is unbelievable, but this is happening in California as well. Within 4 years, the HSS program of Minnesota has increased from $3 million to $400 million.
So everybody's heard about the $1 billion in alleged fraud in Minnesota that Tim Walz overseen, but have you heard about Maine? That's the proper way to say Maine, by the way. It's Maine. After hearing what whistleblower Christopher Bernardini of Gateway Community Services had to say, Gateway Community Services is a nonprofit where Bernardini worked, calling himself the billing guru of the company for 7 years. Gateway Community Services, or GCS, is a nonprofit started and ran ran by a man named Abdali Ali, who is a Somali-American. Abdali Ali is a refugee from Somalia that started this company in 2014. It's a nonprofit, and they focus on the mental health, counseling, and youth empowerment services. And they have billed Maine Care, which is Medicaid, over $28.8 million between 2019 and 2024. Bernardini, the whistleblower, alleges millions of dollars in fraud in Maine, specifically at Gateway Community Services where he worked. A lot of it was through inflation of Medicaid billing through fake clients, completely unperformed services, and manipulated records. And this was corroborated by 2 current employees of GCS who wished to remain anonymous. Bernardini tried to get in touch with the Attorney General in Maine and also the Department of Health and Human Services. Both declined to even investigate. But wait, there's more. Abdali Ali is in good with the governor of Maine, Janet Mills, as the governor has provided millions of dollars worth of no-bid contracts to GCS, despite already proven billing irregularities with GCS in 2017-2018, totaling $800,000. And to top it all off, Abdali Ali admitted in a 2023 Kenyan TV interview that he was using U.S. funds to supply bullets, weapons, and military equipment for his failed 2024 Jubaland, Somalia presidential run. That's right, Jubaland is a real place in Somalia, and he ran for what amounts to be governor there, using U.S. taxpayer funds by his own admission for weapons and military supplies. Citizens, I implore you, what the f*** is going on in America? It would appear that this has all just been one giant alleged fraud ring for God knows how long. Honestly, there's more to this story, but I'm trying to keep myself and you sane, and I'm trying to keep it under 3 minutes. That's it for today. Stay tuned for the next time we uncover more Somali fraud in America.
Somalis in Minnesota, Democratic Representative Ilhan Omar people have been caught stealing billions of dollars. Tax fraud amongst a whole bunch of other fraud. Money that was supposed to be sent kids with autism, amongst other things. And one of the ways how they got away with it is they indoctrinated, convincing the parents of these kids that they had autism. Social services recruiting. No. That money was spent on luxury cars, houses, travel. Donald Trump has terminated the funds. Billions of dollars are missing. And yet for all you liberals out there, you all still want to continue listening to Ilhan Omar, the one who married her brother to get in the country. Rumors have it, complain all day long. She can't complain where she comes from. Minnesota is a war zone right now. You can have Somalia reaping havoc. They were able to convince our social services. Billions of tax dollars. Wasteful money. This is from the Democratic Party, people. How much longer are we going to continue allowing them to do this? Every single day is something new from these people, from these sickening people. And yet, apparently, liberals and Democrats all around the country got a problem with Donald Trump because of what he said. It stinks over there. I agree with him. It stinks. If you don't think it stinks, it's a disaster, how about you go back? Build yourself up a nice little house. Build yourself up a nice little life. Nah, see, you all ain't gonna do that. You wanna know why? Because this is United States of America. Land of the free, home of the brave, home of the opportunity. You all come over here and seize that opportunity by stealing billions of dollars.
And as you always know, once the news hit online, boom, suddenly everyone started pointing fingers on the entire Somali communities. But let's be honest, that's not fair. Community leaders have allegedly spoken out, saying they don't support fraud at all. They want the justice system to do its job. But at the same time, they want people to stop blaming innocent families who have nothing to do with it at all. Meanwhile, Americans online are split. Some are angry and demanding tighter oversight. Others are warning that this could easily turn into stereotyping and discriminations. And that's right, yeah? And that's what is getting messy because, yes, the fraud cases exist, but so does the danger of judging the whole community because of a few individuals. So, as this story continues to unfold, one thing is clear: accountability matters, but so does the fairness. The truth will come out, and when it does, we'll finally see the full picture. Until then, let's stay informed, not misled. At this point, all we can do is to wait and see how the investigations unfold. The people involved will face the consequence, but innocent families shouldn't be judged. This story is far from over, and trust me, the truth will come out. If you enjoyed this video, don't forget to like, share, and subscribe. It really helped the channel to grow. Also, all credit goes to the original owners of this video and content I have used. So guys, thank you for watching, and let's keep the conversation ongoing in the comments below. See you in the next video.